Crypto Connoisseurs. My name is Jason Fernandez. I'm here with Kevin Merkel of Coin Metro. We're going to get started.
Hey guys, girls, guys, people, friends, whoever's watching. Nice to see you guys. It's Saturday again. That means we're here again, and we're talking about stuff about usually that has to do with crypto, hopefully. So yeah, I'm Kevin Merkel. Thank you, Jason. I am the CEO and founder of Coin Metro, which is, well, I don't want to spend 30 minutes on this question, on this intro. So we're a crypto exchange, and we do a lot of other things as well. So let's see, Jason. I guess Jason's going to kick us off today because I kicked us off last week. So here's our first topic.
All right. India confirms it's not illegal to buy or sell crypto. What do you make of all this stuff going on with these various countries just trying to figure out how to deal with crypto and how to tax it? I'm curious your thoughts, and then we can jump in.
Yeah, we've been seeing this for years. Actually, I think I've seen India in the headlines, maybe not necessarily about taxes per se, but definitely about whether it's illegal, legal or not. Not as much as China, right? China's banned Bitcoin 63 times in 4 years or something like that. But India's definitely been in the headlines over the past few years. I even remember talking about this on Block's Live TV a few times.
For sure.
So yeah, I think, countries with massive populaces, so China, India, etc., trying to figure out, especially those populaces that I guess have historically found ways to move money out of the country, whether that be for investment, whether that be for moving money to family or money coming into the country, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of money remittances have classically tried to either ban because they thought there would be, usually it's because they talk about criminality, but I think a lot of it is because of money remittance. They don't want money to leave the country, and money that comes into the country, they want to know where it's coming from. And whether that's because of cap rules, capital control rules or whatever. And I think India, at least at this point now, seems that, well, the headline's right here. It's not illegal to buy or sell. Probably the next step is going to be, how do we make money on the buying or selling, right? That's usually where governments go. First, they try to figure out, I guess the market's too small, so and it might be hard to deal with. Let's ban it. Let's make it illegal. Then, oh my God, we can't ban it. It's almost technically impossible. Then it starts to grow too big, and now it's so big that, well, how do we make money off of it? I think that's the general kind of walkthrough for most governments.
Yeah, I mean, look, India has gone back and forth quite a bit on this. Initially, what they try to do is the RBI, which is the Reserve Bank of India, essentially regulated banks that regulates banks. Essentially said that they can't have. They can't open accounts for crypto companies. So that was sort of a quasi-regulation because obviously, if you're a crypto exchange and you can't open a bank, then you can't have, a fiat on-ramp. So, then it may not be illegal, but it's certainly not possible to do so legally. So I think that's kind of how they'd done it initially. But, people in India took that, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and eventually it was overturned. And then it seemed briefly India was looking at it slightly more favorably, but then news came out that they were looking to ban it. Then there was quite a bit of flurry on the industry side. And I'm glad now they seem to have finally confirmed that it's not illegal to buy or sell crypto, although you'll still find people in the press and other government officials saying it's not illegal, but it's not legal either, which, I don't 100% get. If something's not explicitly illegal, that makes it legal in my opinion. But it's sort of like a weird way of looking at it. But yeah, and now what they're saying is, well, hey, okay, it's legal, but we're going to figure out how to tax it. We're going to figure out how to regulate it. And I think right now they're looking at taxing it at 30%, which is India's highest tax bracket. And that raises a lot of questions, as in how does this tax even get implemented? Like when you have cryptocurrency transactions being taxed at 30%, are people actually going to be like, when I buy crypto from somebody else that's selling, do they actually take, am I supposed to collect the 30%? Is the exchange supposed to collect the 30%? How do I track it if the person is from outside of India? Is that still is that still relevant then? And how do I deduct that from those transactions? I mean, this is I'm really not sure how they're going to actually, implement it. I think it's practically impossible, particularly with decentralized exchanges. You just would not be able to know in many cases who you're buying the crypto from specifically. So how you're going to tax them, or ensure that the taxes are distributed to the right people, I think is going to be just it's one of those things where it's easy to make a regulation. It's really, really difficult to actually implement it.
Yeah. Legislators love to make laws that don't make any sense and are hard to implement. That's all around the world, though. That's not only India's problem. That's everybody's
Yeah.
problem. But I guess so is the assumption then that it's going to be taxed as a consumable, like if you're buying a bar of soap, like a VAT tax, like a value added tax, or is the assumption that it's going to be, tax on gains, capital gains, or when you sell, or is or what do you know what the assumption is?
Yeah, they're saying. I think when you sell, or when you buy and sell, I think the transaction is supposed to happen. I'm really, again, it is supposed to be on gains, but I don't know how, again, you calculate that even, when you have, and how does it work across exchanges and international exchanges? I'm really not sure how that's going to work out.
Either way, it's not easy to implement, but a VAT tax would be absolutely insane, right? I mean, imagine paying 30% just for buying. I mean, and then having to make 31% just to have any form of capital gain on top of your potential investment. I mean, crypto's pretty volatile, right? So 30% could happen in a day or a couple hours, really. But still, that would be massive. That would be ridiculous. I don't think any country, as far as I know, does like a tax, like a VAT tax, like as if you were buying any type of good,
right?
Taxable good.
I mean, arbitrage is dead basically with that. I can't see how you're going to do.
Well, you have a 32% spread. And people would still arbitrage. Yeah, they get absolutely.
Thailand is also taking it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned Thailand, so I'll throw this one up. This, I guess, should be our next topic. But I'll let you start, Jason. Go right ahead.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, Thailand is looking at doing, trying to do something similar. They tried with a 15% crypto capital gains tax, and it was just massive backlash, right? I guess the people who in Thailand are more vocal than the people in India about their about. I mean, there's certainly, I know it was trending for a while to repeal the tax on Twitter. I'm not sure how that's actually gonna play out. I think it is encouraging, though, that they clarify that it's not illegal, right? And I think that's useful.
Yeah. I look, I'm not really upset. Nobody likes taxes, right? I don't like taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. Yeah. I don't think there's a place in the world yet that has a fair tax system. I think there's fairer tax systems and worse tax systems, right? But most countries of the world tend to have a tax system that was made in 1843 or 1765 or 1582. I mean, just systems that don't make sense with today's kind of business economy, today's economy in general, the fact that everything's globalization. So I'm okay with my gains getting taxed. I'm not okay with paying some exorbitant amount of money for no reason. I shouldn't say for no reason, but when I give money away, I like to know where it's spent. And I think the problem with most countries is I'm okay. I'll pay 10%. Most people would probably pay 10%, to be honest, of capital gains without batting an eye. Like, yeah, okay, fine. Here's my 10%. But since you're taxing my immutable money, right, that sits on a blockchain, spend my money on an immutable blockchain. Let me see where it goes. Let me see how it's spent.
Yeah, and I'll spend that 10%.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pay the 10% all day long. No problem. Yeah, you know what? 15% isn't even that bad, comparatively speaking, to other countries. But again, yeah, and I think you're right. You mentioned like how are they gonna do it? I mean, tax systems around the world in many ways, most countries are based on trust systems, like trusts. Like you at the end of the year is going to fill out this really complicated, ridiculous form and tell me how much money you made. And that doesn't work entirely, obviously. In Estonia, where I'm sitting, it's not really a trust system, to be honest. They pretty much know. And the thing is that like in the US, they know, like the IRS knows how much money you made. They even know usually if you own crypto, to be honest. But the thing is that they know, but they still ask you to fill out this complicated form to see if you tell the truth. But they already know, which is a weird way of going about things. They want you to trust them, right? But they don't trust you. which is
But
ridiculous.
I think it's probably the tax lobby, like the H&R Block and those guys that are probably like fighting to make sure that never happens.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely lobbying. I mean, that's that business. What does H&R Block do like after April 15th? They just sit there and twiddle their thumbs until,
Wait till
January next
time.
year. I mean, it's the most seasonal business ever. But yeah, so yeah, the I think it's cool to see though that a country stood up, right? Because I've never seen a headline like this for, the US, UK, or let's say the Western world. Like, US decides to tax crypto. Oh, next week, you know what? There was a lot of backlash, so we won't do it. Like, usually it's more like the US is going to attack and kill crypto. And then it gets all the way to the point where they're going to vote on a bill. And then for some reason, it's not in the bill anymore. That just happened, right? In the US, this crazy crypto clause was removed from a bill before it was voted. But, not because there was necessarily backlash, just because some lawmaker decided, well, we're going to take this out for now. That's it. So it is kind of nice to see that people stand up and kind of get what they asked for. I still think they're going to tax it. Maybe it's just going to be a lower rate. Maybe it's going to be only specific types of transactions. Who knows? I don't know what you think, Jason.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they are going to figure out a way to tax it, and I suppose that's fine. But it's I just think you have to do it in a way that doesn't destroy the industry, right? Like, I mean, it's such a nascent industry, still trying to find its legs, and you just come in and tax it to heck. You're not going to have anything that's worth protecting.
Yeah, and you have to classify. It's kind of hard to classify. I mean, if you're a country that doesn't classify crypto as money or as a security or hopefully not as a security, or as a commodity, there's no official classification. How do you tax capital gains? That'd be like charging capital gains when somebody buys a used T-shirt and then resells it, and then the tax man coming and saying, "Well, where's my 15%?" I mean, that's crazy. How is it a capital gain if it's not an asset that can actually have a capital gain under the law? So there's a lot of stuff that I think needs to, and that's again not just Thailand. That's pretty much every country, to be honest. There's very few countries that are classified.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about India that they've done is that they basically, from what I hear, they've all been classified as a commodity.
I've seen that,
which is interesting because basically that takes it out of the purview of anything the RBI, which is desperate to regulate crypto over here, basically takes it completely out of that ambit because if it's not currency, then the RBI has nothing.
Yeah, they have nothing to do with it. Yeah, I saw that as well. I saw that pop up in the news. That's actually that's super important. Nobody's paying attention to that now though. With this, maybe that's specifically why the regulator, the bank regulators, come out and say, well, it's not illegal. Because now they don't, even what they say might not even make any difference. They could try to say it's illegal, but it's not, again, under their purview, like you said. Cool. Boom. Next topic. Jason, take it away. So we got, crypto exchanges in Asia. Oh, Asia once again growing.
Yeah, we see. I mean, there's a lot of crypto exchanges that are looking at Asia as a possible place to expand. I was president of India operations over at XREX, the Taiwanese exchange, when they were launching in India. And so there's a lot. I mean, and this seems to be happening every day. The international exchange is trying to open up in India or Asia or Japan. And I think that they view this as a really obviously as a growing market. I know that Coinbase set up some operations here. I think they describe it as back office operations, but they officially launched in Japan in August 2021. So it's not like they're not looking at Asian markets. So yeah, I mean it's I think Kraken now is all over the place. They're functional in 45 Asian nations, and I know OK Exchange is targeting India as well. So I mean it's one of those things where it's a growing market, and a lot of the internationals want to see, as soon as regulation straightens out, that they're going to try to get a piece of that.
Yeah, I think that's your last point is probably the most important to me, is that initially all crypto volume came from Asia, and most of that came from China, and because capital controls, right? So Chinese people can't move more than $50,000 equivalent of a renminbi or whatever they're trying to move out of the country without permission, and so historically they've found ways to do that. Before crypto, they used many other things. There's all kinds of different electronic monies that have existed before crypto that China would use to move money out of China, or Chinese people would use to move money out of China. and government as well. Government officials would definitely use to move money out of China. And then crypto came along and they said, oh, here's a new vehicle. Then it got regulatory scrutiny. So they stopped. Then all volume started to move west. So it went to the US, went to Europe, went to, it still stayed in Asia, but generally a lot of it started to move out. Now they have some regulatory clarity. It's coming back. Why? Well, there's a lot of people in Asia. Most of the people in the world, population-wise, are in Asia. So it kind of makes sense that any market, I don't care if you sell socks, widgets, keyboards, squishy toys, whatever, you're probably going to have a big market in Asia. That makes perfect sense. I think cap controls are still a thing, obviously. So there still is that element of being able to potentially through like Monero or whatever. I'm sure that's still part of the equation. As a business, though, I'm running an exchange. We're not yet in Asia, and part of the reason was because of regulatory unclarity. Also, it's just it's also can be difficult for businesses to move into areas of the world where they simply don't have background, right? And Asia is definitely one of them. If you don't have somebody on the ground in Asia and you try to move into Asia, you might as well just hand the keys over to the business and say, what, I'll see you, because you're going to fail. You're going to fail no matter how hard you try. You need to have trusted people.
And there's going to be a lot of people. And there's going to be a lot of people on the ground that'll spend a lot of time to figure out how to separate you from your money and still not get any benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a hard one. I think you mentioned one that Crypto.com is also, I think they launched their debit card right first in Asia. And now obviously they've launched around the world. They now have rights to the Staples Center in LA. They spent like 700. Well, they haven't spent it yet. They will spend 700 million over like 20 years or something, which I guarantee you they're paying in CRO. So who cares, right? But yeah. So yeah. Anyway, Asia's big. There's lots of people. There's now some regulatory clarity. I would expect I think the cool thing about this, I think the biggest news to me is that this is showing every other country of the world, when there's regulatory clarity, you will get business, you will get tax income, you will get, these companies. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, all the way back to the Bitcoin white paper, your first exchanges, there was always this pushback from regulators that, well, first of all, the market's too small, legislators, regulators, et cetera. The market's too small, it's too risky. We don't, these guys aren't going to give us any tax revenue. They're not professional. It's a bunch of, tech dudes just kind of that have no idea what they're doing, running a business, blah, 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 blah. And now we've matured to the point where countries are putting in regulatory clarity. They actually want these type of businesses in their country because they understand now that they are run, maybe not all of them, but many of them now are run by professionals. They know what they're doing. It's not unlike any other financial business, et cetera. So that's the big news I would take out of this one for me. And I think that's actually quite kind of positive in many ways.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, let's see what we got up next. Our friend Justin Bieber.
So of course, Justin Bieber bought the Bored Ape NFT for 1.29 million, 3 times what its actual price was. I don't know. He was just trying to make a statement. It's like one of those things where like, hey, I'll pay double. That's how much I like this. Maybe been better off buying 2 different, Bored Apes as opposed to, just spend over, or 3 of them rather than spending 300% the price. You have to wonder whether like there's a degree of like NFT washing going on where people are like selling NFTs to themselves and like just because now what happens when that NFT gets sold? Is it now 1.2 million or is it like still 200,000? Like how much is it worth really?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That historically happens in our world all the time, right? There's been many cases. Well, I'm sure most have not been caught, but many have been caught over the years of doing just that, basically wash trading, paintings, sculptures. So you have, I'm a rich guy, you're a rich guy. I'm like, I got this thing, it's kind of worthless, but I'd like to sell. I'm getting a divorce, I need some money, whatever. And you're like, don't worry, bro. I'll pay, 5 million for that thing, and then I got this other buddy that'll pay me 6.5. You buy it for 7, and then we'll put it up at auction at Christie's. Someone's going to pay 8.2 because, well, what a great deal for this awesome piece of artwork that has really no value, right? So yeah, I think that there is definitely. I'm not saying, our great pal Justin Bieber is in on wash trading of NFTs. I think it's either probably, I hate to say it, but like tech stupidity. Like he just kind of went in he was at a party one night, super drunk. Some friend of his, some rapper was like, bro, you got to get on this NFT stuff. And then he just went in and he's like, all right, this dude paid $1 million. So I guess I got to pay a little more than that, or whatever. Doesn't know how the thing works. Yeah. Or just an element of he's got 1.29 million and he knows if he pays that for it, it's going to go in the news. And someone else who likes Justin Bieber is going to, has money, might just pay 1.5 to him or 2.5 later on, because he can say, I own Justin Bieber's.
Exactly. Because now that's the whole thing about the NFTs, right? Is that you can basically trace exactly who owned them at different times. So it's like buying the car that, like a famous movie star drove in a famous movie or something like that, and because you can now prove that it belonged to him. So
exactly. And I think, it could even be that someone who owned that paid. I don't know if there is an agency, but if I was a smart guy and wanted to get behind the scenes, I'd open an agency that connected famous people to people that needed to sell NFTs. And then basically they would just get a commission. So the famous person would buy the NFT for an exorbitant amount of money. And then they would keep like 30% of that sale price, and then they would resell it and they get a piece of that as well. I think there's some element to that, whether, if it's on purpose or not. It might not even be on purpose, but just because we're looking at this, we're not the only ones seeing it. There's somebody out there right now ready to pay double that price just because, Justin Bieber owned it, and now I'm going to be able to resell it for more money. But funny enough, we're looking around. He actually owns a ton of NFTs. Actually, this isn't the only one. I'm sure he didn't pay 1.29 million for all of them. But so what is this? What was this at? 619 NFTs. Yeah, from 49 collections. So I mean, I guess he likes NFTs. I mean,
somebody's going crazy with his wallet. Basically, he left his wallet somewhere, and the guy's like, "Hey, this looks good. I'll pick it up." But because I think really rich guys don't they hire people to like curate their collection? That's probably what he's done.
Yeah.
I might explain the overpaying too.
Yeah, exactly. So he could have and it could, something like this where it's like, I got some ether in a wall. Here's a ledger wall with some ether. Maybe it's like his cousin or, somebody in the family needed a job, and he's like, just buy me some NFTs. And the guy's like, I know about NFTs, and then kind of went on to OpenSea and, whatever, bought some random stuff. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, I think he's still got some money left in there. What is it? It says he's got 340 Ethereum still left in that wallet. So he can still, overpay on a few more NFTs. Maybe we should make a Crypto Connoisseur NFT, and maybe he'll pay 300% for it. To the moon right away.
Yeah. Boom.
Anyway, NFT market. What do you think? Do you own any NFTs, Jason? You own any NFTs?
So I don't own any NFTs that I've bought. I've made some NFTs and I own those. Because why not, right? Like, because I've never really actually gone off and bought any just to collect. And then most of the NFTs that I see don't have any utility, like whatsoever. And I guess I'm just so programmed with the whole token thing to look at token utility that for me, looking at an NFT is like, what do I do with this? Like, where's the utility? Like, how do I, are there any yacht clubs around here? Like, what's going on? Like,
you made me think of, we should make an NFT. They have the flashlight thing on your phone, the whole phone turns white. We should, people now have those digital screens so that, they can display their NFTs. We should make an NFT flashlight. It has a utility, at least. Lights are off in the house. You just throw your flashlight utility on your NFT screen.
And your NFT shows up too.
Yeah. That's at least 1.29 million. Come on, Justin. Where are you, man? All right. Okay, so I think this is our last topic of the day, but it's an interesting one. So I'll let you lead.
Cool. Apple on the metaverse. So they're investing pretty heavily. Tim Cook has been sort of making noises in that area, but I can't help but think that to be skeptical, right? Like, we've been hearing about Apple Car forever. And if you look at some of what other people are doing in the metaverse, right? Like look at Facebook, right? I would not be surprised if this whole thing was just a massive publicity stunt. Because you think about it, we spoke about this last week, right? I mean, Facebook was all over Facebook Coin when it was. And matter of fact, as soon as they announced Facebook Coin, Bitcoin went through the roof. People were like all excited, like, oh my God, like if Facebook is into this is going to be a success, which turned out to be, nothing could be farther from from the truth, right? I mean, and so you have to wonder. I think recently they lost a bunch of money. Then they missed their earnings call. Like they made huge losses in certain areas, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like a lot of companies, when they change their name, they're changing their name because of publicity, and like like Blackwater became a different company, right? Like
Whitewater.
and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook was doing that. Like, I mean, let's call ourselves Meta. We'll be in all the news for the next 3 years. Maybe I own some Decentraland and Sandbox tokens that are just going to like blow up as soon as I make this announcement. And then, then it just fizzles out. Like the metaverse is gone. Facebook's on to something else. Like now they're looking at the AR-verse or something like that, It could very well be the case, I mean, we had a whole year and a half of this Facebook coin, and it's now, it's gone.
Yeah. I was talking the other day about the Facebook. They lost 10 billion actually so far on their meta push for the metaverse. Lost. I guess lost is probably this was a news article I read. Lost could be invested and just no return yet. I mean, it might not be lost. I made a prediction when they came out with when they started talking about metaverse that it was a good play for them for one reason. They have enough money. So a lot of times what happens with new industries is you'll have a big player come out and say, yeah, this is going to happen and fast, and we're all over it, because what that does is make all these smaller companies focus on it. They start putting all their energy in. They come up with great ideas, but they fail because they don't have enough money to basically last the amount of time it takes for this nuanced stuff to become actually mainstream. So they die. And then the big company, they can take the losses. They take the 10 billion, the 15 billion, the 20 billion loss, no problem. And then they go and gobble up all these small companies that actually have really good ideas for next to nothing. And then 10 years from now, 5 years from now, the metaverse is a thing, and Facebook is, all over it, and they literally control it. And I think there might be an element of that. I think it's one of those things where we're just too soon, because there was a study in MIT, I forget the year, but maybe 5-10 years ago, and it was basically just one question. It was, is there a God, or are we in a simulation? And they asked a bunch of people, and they tried to figure it out. Which, I don't know what scientific formula they used to figure this out, but that was the question. And they came back with something like there's a 51% chance that we're all in some type of simulation, and we just don't know it, And if to me, I don't know if that's true or not. Nobody does. But if I think about the progression of technology, like there's always this question: does time travel exist? If you think it exists sometime in the future, well, then it exists now, right? Because some dude went back to year zero or saw the dinosaurs, Of course he did. Where else would you go, right? Went to go back to see if Jesus was real, if Buddha was real, whatever. So it would exist now. So the same paradox happens with this, right? Because if you believe that VR technology is going to get better and better and better and better and better, and they're not just going to stop, then at some point it probably is going to be difficult to feel the difference between reality and what's real and what's not. So I kind of think that's probably the case. So at some point it's not going to stop. And why wouldn't we have a world where you can interact with people and spend, commerce wants to moved online because they had to. At first, Amazon and the first companies online, nobody's going to pay for stuff online. Nobody's going to give their credit card online. That's dangerous, all this stuff. Now, most commerce is moving online. I think that life will move online to a certain extent, and commerce wants to be there. People want to make money when people are sitting all day with a headset on, eating potato chips, right? I mean, they want to make money. So I think they're right. They're just way too soon, and they know that. And I think this might be a ploy. Apple can lose, probably 100 billion. And still be okay. So they can spend money for the next 5-10 years, and kill everybody else's business, and end up becoming one of the big boys, and have the Apple VR goggles or whatever nonsense.
I mean, I think about that simulation theory a lot, and you think about it, like you really think about it, it's like if we would make games that are so realistic that we can be in there and experience it, it stands to reason over a long enough time frame that's going to be indistinguishable from reality. And if that were to happen, if you think that that's like an inevitability, then you really start wondering whether it already happened like millions of years ago, and we're living in it, because on a long enough time frame, this would have evolved anyways. So why suggest that it didn't evolve like only over the last few million years, as opposed to 100 million years or a billion years, on a long enough time frame?
It's a super interesting concept that if you start thinking about it, you get like wrapped up in thoughts, and then like you probably just go crazy at some point. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere in like a padded room who started thinking about this stuff and then couldn't stop. But yeah, I tend to think that we're not going to stop making virtual reality. So, and again, businesses are going to want to make, right now, people still go outside and they still go online, right? But at some point, they're just going to be, maybe not all day long, per se, in the next 10 years, but in the next 10 years, maybe instead of sitting in front of your TV or watching a movie or going on Netflix, you're just going to put this thing on your face when you get home from work and go to the Caribbean island, have a drink, and whatever, I don't know, whatever you do there. I don't know what the hell you would buy there that would be virtual, but whatever, that's probably going to happen. So I think they're betting correctly. They're just way too soon. It's not going to happen next year. Nobody in the next year, we're not going to change the world with the metaverse. You after that either. But they have the money to waste.
But there's some interesting ideas. There's some companies that are trying to do, like, there's a company called Chillville that's trying to do like a masterverse where essentially like they're going to include other metaverses, and like each individual district is going to have something that's like Axie Infinity, that's something that's on brand for Axie Infinity in terms of how people interact with that. Or you might have different districts where you sort of like are able to mine cryptocurrency, different kinds of cryptocurrency depending on where you are. So there's like a whole lot of interesting things going on now. Like I think that's been really exciting. It's like sort of the innovation that Facebook, the whole Facebook thing has brought among, some of these smaller companies that are going out and doing, metaverse plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that sums it up. We're 31 minutes in. So I think that sums it up for the day. We actually got some questions that rolled in off of YouTube. Maybe next week we'll expand it a bit to take some questions, or actually 2 weeks from now. This is usually going to be a bi-weekly show. We did it 2 weeks in a row, I think, because the first week was kind of a test. You notice that we have some different graphics this week, and hopefully the show is a little better because of that. I don't know. The bubble pipe is down below us here, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, we will see here, I believe, in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after that, and 2 weeks after that, and 2 weeks after that. So
every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So thanks for being here, everybody. Next week we might take some questions. See you guys here next week. Thanks for taking part.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Shout out to Ima Ukunu and Hereby. And we'll get you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll get you guys next week. Cheers.